Paramahansa Statarasata Sri Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nitya Lila Pravishtom Vishnupad Paramahansa Statarasata Sri Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Nitya Lila Pravishtom Vishnupad Paramahansa Astatarasata Sri Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhara Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Astatarasata Sri Srimad Bhakti Pragyan Keshava Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Astatarasata Sri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Where is that coming from? Outside here? Oh, by that room. From all directions. On that side? My God. Nityalila Pravishtom Vishnupad Paramahansa Statarasata Sri Srila Gaur Kishore Das Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Nityalila Pravishtom Vishnupad Statarasata Sri Srila Sachidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Vaishnav Sarvabhaum Sri Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Gauri Vedanta Charja Srila Baladev Vidyabhusan Prabhu Ki Jai Rasika Shiromani Shri Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Ki Jai Shri Narottam Srinivas Shyamananda Prabhu Trai Ki Jai Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai Shri Rup Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath Shada Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai Srila Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Gaura Parshada Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem se Gaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopi Go Govardhan Dvadasha Vinatmaka Shri Braj Mandala Dham Ki Jai Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Yamuna Ganga Tulsi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Govinda Radha Gopinath Radha Madan Mohan Jiu Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda Radha Shyama Sundar Radha Raman Radha Damodar Jiu Ki Jai Shrimati Lalita Vishaka Adi Ashtasaki Brinda Ki Jai Shri Rupa Manjari Rati Manjari Adi Manjari Brinda Ki Jai Shrimati Brinda Devi Ki Jai Shrimati Purnamasi Yoga Maya Devi Ki Jai Shri Gopi Swar Mahadev Ki Jai Sarva Bhishta Pradata Giriraj Govardhana Ki Jai Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra Jiu Ki Jai Shri Jagannath Puri Purushottam Kshetra Dhamma Ki Jai Bhakti Vigna Vinashana Shri Nishingadev Ki Jai Bhakta Pravar Shri Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai Charodam Charu Sampradaya Chara Acharya Ki Jai Akara Madhraj Shri Chaitanya Mad Ki Jai Orananya Shakamat Samuha Ki Jai Shri Vishva Vaishnava Raj Sabha Ki Jai Ananta Goti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Tribhuvana Pavana Harinam Samkirtana Ki Jai Tribhuvana Mangala Harinama Prabhu Ki Jai Hare Krishna Maha Mantra Ki Jai Sachinandan Gaura Hari Ki Jai Shri Nityananda Mahajana Ki Jai Shri Pancha Tattva Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Boho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Yasomati Nandana Brajabaranagara Gokula Ranjana Kana Yasomati Nandana Brajabaranagara Gokula Ranjana Yasomati Nandana Brajabaranagara Gokula Ranjana Kana Yasomati Nandana Gopi Paranadana Madana Manohara Puranda Vam Shivadana Subhasa Vam Shivadana Rajasomati Nandana Brajabaranadara Gokularajana Dukkhamati Nanda Brajajana Palana Asura Kula Nashana Brajajana Palana Asura Kula Nashana Nanda Godhana Rakhavala Nanda Govinda Madhava Navanita Taskara Govinda Sundarananda Gopala Sundarananda Yasomati Nandana Brajavarana Gara Gokula Ranjana Kana Jamuna Tata Chara Gopi Vasana Hara Jamuna Rasika Kripamoya Rasika Kripamoya Shri Radha Vallabha Vrindavana Natabara Shri Radha Vallabha Bhakti Vinodaya Shraya Shri Radha Vallabha Vrindavana Natamara Bhakti Vinodaya Shraya Somati Nandana Brajavarana Gara Gokula Ranjana Kana Somati Nandana Brajavarana Gokula Ranjana Kana Jaya Radhe Jaya Krishna Jaya Radhe Jaya Krishna Jaya Sachinandan Jaya Gaura Hari Sachinandan Jaya Gaura Hari Jaya Nitai Jaya Go Jaya Nitai Jaya Go Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Jai Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Haribo Jai Nitai Gaur Premanand Nande Hari Hari Bo. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Judaha Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam. We can open up the windows now too and let the warm air in for a change. Sadvaitam Savadhu Harijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinataranam. Vancha kalpatarubhascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namo Mahabhadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gaurachi Se Nama Nityanandam Namastubhyam Premananda Pradayane Kalo Kalmashanashaya Janava Pataye Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Brindai Tulsidebai Priyaye Keshavasya Cha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavachai Namo Namah Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. For my Dandavat pranams at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Gurudev. Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Astatarasata Sri Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada. I then offer my same unlimited Dandavat pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipful beloved Siksha Gurudevs Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Astatarasata Sri Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj and Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Astatarasata Sri Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. For my Dandavat pranams to the lotus feet of all of my Sri Sri Rupa Nuga Guru Varga. And I offer my Dandavat pranams to all the Vaishnavas and to all the Vaishnavis. So this book called Ragvartma Chandrika, we have been reading. There are actually two different books. There's the actual Ragvartma Chandrika book itself, which is written by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. We have the full translation of this book in English language, from Sanskrit to English. And that book was presented by our Gurudev Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj in a question-answer kind of format with a group of senior devotees from ISKCON. This was in the early 1990s. So we've been reading the commentary by Gurudev, or his explanation of that book, which is called The Hidden Path of Devotion, and it's Conversations on Ragvartma Chandrika by Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. So we've read into that to some extent, but just to give us a frame of reference, because Gurudev he's going to give an overview of the book in these conversations, and he'll go into detail in certain places. But I thought it would be good for us to at least hear. It's very brief, actually. Very brief, the Sanskrit text, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the commentary on that text. So I'm going to read a number of these, and then we're going to go on to reading the conversations that took place. So this book is divided into sections called illuminations. So the first part is called part one, the first illumination. Because why is the word illumination being used?
Moonbeam.
Moonbeam. Because a moonbeam illuminates, and the title itself is telling that this is an illumination on the pathway of rag. The pathway of someone who wants to go to the kingdom of Raganuga Bhakti and Rag Bhakti, which is the possession of the eternal associates of Radha and Krishna. They're called Rag Atmik. Then there has to be a pathway that you have to follow in order to go there. And the word Chandrika is used in the title. We heard about this the other day. That Chandrika means moonbeam. So in other words, there's a moonbeam, and moonbeam also is referring to something that is quite subtle, not bright like the sun. Everywhere, everyone can see it. But moonbeam, only certain persons can see that. As they're traversing through a dense forest area, they may see some illumination coming from the full moon on the pathway that they're traversing. So, therefore, he's divided this book into two parts, really, part one and part two. But in part one, there are 14 verses, 14 Sanskrit texts. And that first section of part one is called the first illumination. Then the second section of part one is called the second illumination, and that comprises 8 different verses. So 8 plus 14, 22 shlokas. And then the part two of this book is very thorough descriptions of the conceptions of Srila Jiva Goswami in connection with Swakiya and Parakiya. And then the line of thought of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur on that topic. Then the opinions of other Vaishnavas. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's position on Swakiya and Parakiya. So all these topics we are going to be covering. Then there's a whole section of end notes, which are also very interesting. The end notes. Because there's many footnotes throughout the book. And then they've given us a list of footnotes from 2 through 14, and where there is a discourse on this given by Srila Narayan Maharaj. Like, for example, footnote 2, Darshan of 13th October 2003, Puri, India. Footnote number 3, Darshan in 1991, Mathura, India. Darshan, footnote number 4, Discourse of 28 January 2002, Holland. So in this way, from the early 2000s, there are all these different darshans which have been given as reference. So everything is thoroughly backed up by praman and evidence in the book. So the first text of the first illumination is a short Sanskrit verse in which Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is offering his pranam. He's saying, Shri Rupa Vak Sudha Svadi Chakorebhyo Namo Namaha Yesham Kripa Lavayar Vakshye Ragavartmani Chandrikam. With great humility and veneration, I offer obeisances again and again to those devotees who, like chakora birds, are always relishing the nectar of the words of Sri Rupa Goswami. On the strength of just a slight merciful glance from them, I am beginning this book, which is like a moonbeam illuminating the path of spontaneous devotion. That's his introductory verse. Now, our Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, has written his commentary for this book. And the commentary, the title that he chose for the commentary is Sri Chandrika Chakora Vritti. Chandrika Chakora Vritti. So we know that chakora birds like to consume what? Moonbeams. They like to drink the moonbeams, chakora birds. Just like also they like to drink the rain that comes, rainwater. They don't take water from the earth. So he's saying that the chakora birds that are drinking the chandrika, the moonbeams of these illuminations. So first of all, our Gurudev offers his pranam with his very usual shlokas. So now Gurudev, after offering his pranams, he says, first of all, this insignificant and this destitute person offers obeisances over and over again to his supremely worshipful spiritual master, Nitya Lila Pravishtom Vishnupad, Astatara Shata Sri Shilad Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, and to the crown jewel of Rasik devotees in the illustrious line of Srila Rupa Goswami, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the crown jewel of Rasik devotees. And obeisances to those who have fulfilled the cherished innermost desire of Sriman Mahaprabhu by establishing in this world the path to awaken pure love for the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. And obeisances to Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is resplendent with the mood and the luster of Srimati Radhika, and accompanied by all his associates. And finally to Gandharva Giridhari Shri Shri Radha Vinod Bihari. And I offer obeisances to all of them again and again in order to obtain their causeless mercy and their blessings before commencing this Sri Chandrika Chakora Vritti, An Rag Vartma Chandrika, composed by the topmost follower of Sri Rupa Goswami, the highly eminent preceptor, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. He is Jagat Guru, the spiritual master of the entire universe. He is an eternal associate of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is directly Swayam Bhagavan, the Supreme Lord himself. Srila Rupa Goswami established and preached and distributed the tasteful mellows of Vrindavan, Braj Ras, according to the innermost desire of Sriman Mahaprabhu. In the subsequent era, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is one of the prominent preceptors in the line of Srila Rupa Goswami. He has written wonderful commentaries saturated with philosophical conclusions, siddhanta, and transcendental mellows, rasa. Commentaries on Srila Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and Ujjvala Nilamani, and Srila Sanatana Goswami's Brihad Bhagavatamritam, and other literatures. For the distinct benefit of Raga Anuga devotees, and particularly for insubstantially educated practitioners, that is, those who are not well versed in Sanskrit and are thus unable to deeply study or comprehend the literatures of Srila Rupa Goswami, he has composed, who has composed? Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has composed 3 very brief yet invaluable summaries of the aforementioned titles. And what are those 3? Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Bindu, Ujjvala Nilamani, Kiran, and Bhagavatamrita Kana. Do you know? Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Bindu? Yes, because we have that book, given by our Gurudev. Bindu means drop. Ujjvala Nilamani, Kiran. What is a Kiran? Sun ray. Kiran is a sun ray. And Bhagavatamrita Kana. Kana. Bhagavatamrita is a very big book by Sanatana Goswami, Brihad Bhagavatamrita. So, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has written a summary on that book, and he has called it Bhagavatamrita Kana. What does Kana mean? Particle, tiny particle of Bhagavatamrita. Now, to further corroborate the thought of Srila Rupa Goswami, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has discussed divine, spotlessly pure paramur love. What is that called in Sanskrit? Spotlessly pure paramur love is called Vishuddha Parakiya Bhav. Vishuddha Parakiya Bhav. He has discussed this throughout all his commentaries, his books, and his prayers. Examination of his transcendental writings confirms that he is one of the prominent Vaishnavas in the line of Srila Rupa Goswami. His life's noble purpose was to follow, illuminate, and preach the internal mood of Srila Rupa Goswami. Therefore, in the beginning of this treatise, he specifically expresses his deep internal faith in him by repeatedly offering obeisances to those chakora bird-like devotees who relish the nectar of the rasa-laden words of Srila Rupa Goswami. So Gurudev is saying here, what is this very specific contribution that Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has made? Yes, he has taken all the thoughts of Srila Rupa Goswami and he has discussed this Vishuddha Parakiya Bhav throughout all his commentaries, throughout all his books and all of his prayers. Now, if we examine his transcendental writings, whose writings? Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. If we examine his transcendental writings, then it confirms that he is one of the prominent Vaishnavas in the line of Srila Rupa Goswami. And his life's noble purpose was to follow and to illuminate and to preach the internal mood of Srila Rupa Goswami. Therefore, in the beginning of this treatise, he specifically expresses his deep internal faith in him. In who? His faith in Rupa Goswami. He specifically expresses his deep internal faith in Rupa Goswami by repeatedly offering obeisances to those Chakora bird-like devotees who relish the nectar of the rasa-laden words of Srila Rupa Goswami. So this book has been named Ragvartma Chandrika. The deep purport of the title is that people of general faith worship the Lord by following the rules and regulations of Vaidhi Bhakti, whereas the worship of Vrajendra Nandan Shyama Sundar, which is filled with ever-fresh sentiments of intense loving attachment, that's called anurag. So, the worship of Brajendra Nandan Shyama Sundar is extremely uncommon even for great demigods and high-class practitioners, sadhaks. Devotees possessed of divine love, premi bhaktas, such as the grandsire of the universe. Who's the grandsire of our universe? Sri Brahmaji. So the devotees who are possessed of prem bhakti, such as the grandsire of the universe, Sri Brahma, as well as Sri Uddhav and Sri Narada, they yearn for this. What do they yearn for? These sentiments of intense loving attachment, anurag. Even though it's extremely uncommon. However, this path, which is based on anurag, it is practically impossible to discover it. Did you hear that? It's practically impossible to discover this path, which is based on this anurag, this spontaneous attachment. Only a few fortunate people even realize that such a path exists, let alone follow it. For those glorious persons in whom spiritual greed has awakened, to proceed in this way, for those persons in whom spiritual greed has awakened, and they want to proceed in this way, this book is a chandrika. It is an illuminating moonlight. And by the means of the soothing rays of this moonlight, they can easily detect and advance along this rarely achieved path. So, that gives us a frame of reference, doesn't it? This is not ordinary. This is not common. This book is for a very specific group of individuals. It's not for everyone. They cannot even comprehend this topic, most people. They can't even understand that this such a topic and such a book even exists like this. So in this way, Srila Gurudev, Srila Narayan Maharaj is opening up this book to all the readers with this reference to understand what great contribution this book actually is. Even though it's a very small book in size, but in the depth of it, in the importance of it, it is indispensable. For those who want to come on this pathway, it is indispensable. So now we're going to text 2. Luckily, they only do this sawing like every 10 minutes for about 2 or 3 minutes. Otherwise, I just throw my hands up in the air and say, okay, Haribol, see you next week. So to those who are out in the world through the broadcasting of the internet, we're dealing with some obstacles today, because right outside of our window, they're using an electric saw and to hammer and to repair a room right there. So what choice do we have? We don't. We're just going to continue on, despite all the obstacles, despite all of the situations that are opposed to the real atmosphere that is required. But guess what? Those Chakora bird-like devotees who want to hear this, they'll not even care. Whether there's saws, whether there's loudspeakers, they'll try to dive directly into the subject matter and bathe. Yes. All right, text 2. Srimad Bhakti Sudam Bodher Bindur Yak Purvan Darshita Tatra Raga Nuga Bhakti Sangshiptatra Vitanyate. So the translation of this verse is very important. This verse, now, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying that when he previously published the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Bindu, in that book, he says Raganuga Bhakti was described in brief in that book. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Bindu. Raganuga Bhakti is described in brief. Now, an elaborate explanation of that spontaneous devotion is given in this treatise. That's what this treatise is. So Srila Gurudev is saying, here it is necessary to know the meanings of the terms Rag, Raganuga, and Ragatmika. Regarding this subject, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that excessive attachment for many forms of sense enjoyment, which the materialist naturally feels through contact with sense objects, that is called what? It's called rag, attachment. The word rag means attachment. But for the materialists, what are they attached to? They have excessive attachment for the different forms of sense enjoyment. They feel this through the contact with the sense objects. But that attachment to that, it's called rag. And just as the eyes become agitated upon seeing something beautiful, similarly, all the senses are ever eager to taste pleasure. Our tongue wants to taste nice tasting things. Our ears want to hear nice things, etc. So, all of our senses become agitated when we want to taste some kind of pleasure. But then what happens? The heart develops rag for these sense objects. And rag means what? Attachment. What's the word in Russian for attachment? Attachment. What's the word in Russian for attachment? Madhavi. Attachment. To be attached to something. That's what I thought. What is it again? Priyazana. Priyazanist. Priya. Priyazanist. Priya. What? Vya. Privyazanist. See what I told you? All the consonants in Russian language are all jumbled together. Vya. We have that. But the way it's come in the word, privyazanist. Privya. We don't have that in English. Privyazanist. Okay, so now privyazanist means attachment. Rag. Rag. Okay? It's very important because this book is titled what? Rag. Vartma Chandrika. So now we're going to learn what is rag. And for the materialistic persons, rag means what? Senses become attached to the objects. Were we getting a translation going on now? Is a translation going on? Okay. So the senses are attached to the objects of the senses, and that attachment, that mood, is called what? Privyazanist. Attachment. Attachment. Raga. But now, when Krishna is the exclusive object of this attachment, nothing else, nothing in this world, only Krishna is the exclusive object of this attachment, or, again, rag, when Krishna is the object of rag, then what is it called? It's called Raga Bhakti. Everyone say that. Raga Bhakti. Raga Bhakti. Okay. Now, Srila Rupa Goswami has defined this rag in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. That's good luck for us that Rupa Goswami has given a definition of this rag in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Otherwise, we wouldn't know what it is. But he's given a definition. And what is that verse? It says, Ishte swarasiki raga parama vishtata bhavet. That verse is telling the following adjectives are given. That this attachment, strong attachment, deep attachment, and natural absorption in what? In the cherished object of one's devotion. And what else about it? It is arising from an unquenchable loving thirst for that. That's how it arises, this attachment, from an unquenchable thirst. So what is that called? Yes, that is called rag. So when one's devotion to Sri Krishna is situated in this stage, then it is called rag atmika bhakti. Only the highest perfected souls have rag atmika bhakti. And where do we find this rag atmika bhakti? Where are we going to find that? We're going to find it everywhere here in the material world as we fly from one city to another? Are we going to find this rag atmika bhakti manifested here? No. Yes. It's only found where? It's found in the Brajabasis. Only they have this. Only they have this rag atmika bhakti. This bhakti is especially found in the Brajabasis, who are the eternal residents of Vraja. Now, in brief, it can be said that ragatmika bhakti is what? That it is love-filled thirst for Krishna. In brief, if you just want to say, what is ragatmika bhakti? It is love-filled thirst for Krishna. And it is devotion that follows in its wake. But that has a different name. Devotion that follows in the wake of this love-filled thirst for Krishna is called what? Rag anuga. Rag anuga. That's what it's called. Rag anuga. So in other words, when by the mercy of Sri Krishna and by the mercy of his devotees, one cultivates devotion that is impelled by the covetousness to obtain the same mood as Krishna's beloved associates, then it is called what? Rag anuga bhakti. I think you have all understood this to some extent now. Rag bhakti, rag anuga bhakti, Ragatmika bhakti, like this. So this Raganuga bhakti, is of two types. Sambandha Anuga. The first one has the word Sambandha. Sambandha Anuga. Sambandha Anuga. What does Sambandha mean? We know this word. Sambandha means relationship. Sambandha. Sambandha Gyan means knowledge of relationship. Sambandha Gyan. Sambandha Nuga is the name of the type of Raganuga Bhakti. This is one type. We'll explain. The other type is known as Kam Anuga. Kam means what? Kam means transcendental, intense, loving lust. Just like in the material world, there's lust. But real lust in the spiritual world is called Kam. It's eternal. It's eternal. It never fades. It's very, very intense, unquenchable loving thirst. So, now text 3, 4, and 5 are coming. That's Gurudev's short little commentary on that verse. Now, here, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is describing further that there are two types of bhakti. One is called Vaidhi Bhakti and one is called Raganuga Bhakti. Vaidhi Bhakti Bhavet Shastram Bhakto Chet Syat Pravartakam Raganuga Syat Ched Bhakto Lobha Eva Pravartaka. This means that devotion impelled by injunctions of the Shastras. Vaidhi Bhaktir Bhavet Shastram Bhakto Chet Syat Pravartakam. So devotion is impelled by the injunctions of the scriptures, so that is called Vaidhi Bhakti. But devotion that is incited by what? Lobha, spiritual greed. Rag anuga syach ched bhakto lobha eva pravartaka. Pravartaka means to be impelled by. So there are two impetuses for these two types of bhakti. One is Shastra, the other is Lobha. So Lobha, the devotion that is incited by spiritual greed, by Lobha, it is called Raganuga Bhakti. Now comes text 4. He goes further into this topic. Bhakto pravrittir atra syat. Touch chikirsha sunishchaya. Shastral lobhat touch chikirsha syatam tad adhikarino. This verse means that to advance in devotional life, it means to nurture the single-minded desire to engage exclusively in the limbs of bhakti. We always use this word, oh, he's very advanced. Or I want to advance. Or can I advance by doing this? Or will I do the opposite? Can I advance by doing such and such? Or will it end up in the negative way? So, of course, Srila Rupa Goswami has written the Upadeshamrita to explain what will help you advance and what will cause you to decline in your bhakti. So, but to advance in this line of devotional life of bhakti yoga, it means to nurture what? If you want to advance, you have to nurture the single-minded desire to do what? To engage exclusively in the limbs of bhakti, nothing else. That's advancement. Can everyone do that? No, they can't do that. That's why they can't read this book. Because if they're not interested in that kind of level, that one day they want to reach that, And they're quite satisfied just doing all types of mixed bhakti, mixing it with their material desires. Well, okay. They can go on in that way for a few lifetimes. They can go on in that way for a few lifetimes. But here, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is specifying that to nurture the single-minded desire to engage exclusively in the limbs of bhakti, that's called advancement in devotional life. Now, one can progress, because he's talking in this verse about progressing on the pathway. And one can progress in bhakti in two different ways. There are two different ways to progress in the line of bhakti. Number one, out of fear of the results of neglecting scriptural injunctions. Do we have familiarity with this in the material world? Are there different so-called religious pathways that induce this emotion called fear? Sure as hell is. Because you follow, or you're going to hell. You're going to hell in a, what do they call it? In a basket, or what? There's a way of saying that. Huh? Hand basket, yeah. You're going to hell in a hand basket. Do we know? Yes. All the other so-called religious sub-religions, the upadharmas, they're all based upon follow or go to hell. All of the Abrahamic, Jewish, Christian, and Muslim, those three. Now what about Buddhism? Sure, there's also fear. Great fear. Great fear. Nemi Maharaj, he went for a year before he became a devotee. He crossed the entire continent between England and Japan in a train for 9 days during the communist time. Then he got to Japan and he became a Buddhist monk. And for 1 year, he also learned Japanese language to some extent when he was there. But he found out that there's so much. Don't do that. They're only doing it briefly. Don't close the windows. There's no need. You're just starting and stopping. Only for a few minutes, then it will stop. So, yes. So, and what happens is that there was also a type of Buddhism, Zen Buddhism. And it's extremely shocking to the Atma and to the heart and to the mind. And this is also told to me by my Chinese translator when I used to go to China, traveling in China. She also told me that many Buddhist monks commit suicide. Commit suicide. They can't handle it. This voidistic understanding that this is the goal, voidism, nothingness. You see. So all of these different upadharmas, they're impelled by fear. Injunctions. You don't follow this injunction, you're going to suffer, and you're going to suffer eternally. Just sorry to inform you that you have only one chance, this one lifetime, and if you blow it, well, I'm sorry, but bye-bye. In the lake of fire, you'll be tossed into the lake of fire, and that's it. No more chances. So, there are two different ways to advance in bhakti. That system of fear is also there in the pathway of bhakti. It has to be there. Because the conditioned souls have to have some fear that if they perform sinful activity, they're going to be punished, which they are being punished. But they have to understand the principle that if you do bad, you get a punishment. If you do good, you get rewarded. The whole Vedic system is also based upon that in the Varnashram system. Do pious activities, avoid sinful activities. So for those who are on a very low level, and they thrive, their senses thrive, and they have a thirst for material enjoyment, they have to be kept within certain parameters so that they don't perform severe sinful activities, which will degrade their whole mentality and their whole consciousness and their senses and everything. So in the pathway of Bhakti Yoga, it's called Vaidhi. Vaidhi means rules and regulations. Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, that you're practicing restrictions, rules, and regulations. In the Ashtanga Yoga system, it's called yama and niyama. So there always has to be this. But as one progresses, which is what this book is about, there's a second type of impetus for coming onto the pathway of bhakti. So he's explaining that the first one is out of fear of the results of neglecting scriptural injunctions. You neglect and you become afraid, you're fearful. That's why in Braj, there was a temple at one of the places that we go to toward the end of the Braj Mandala Parikrama. I forget the name of that particular place. But there was a temple of Shani Dev that was erected there, Kokilvan. And that Shani Dev temple attracted lakhs and lakhs and lakhs of people. They weren't coming there to see the Leela Studies at Kokilavan, which were performed by Radha and Krishna. They're coming there to do what? To give money. Why? Because we've been very naughty. We've not been following. So Shani Dev, we know the Saturn, the planet Saturn, that Saturn gives punishment, for the materialists. It removes, it takes away things. So for the spiritualists, Shani Dev is actually favorable. And in fact, I've heard from astrologer devotees that a lot of devotees actually join Krishna consciousness during their, what's it called, Sadasati. Yes? What? Sade. Okay, so, but all these people, there were so many people that they had to put up these, like where you're herding the people with going in and out, they put up like steel bars there because there's so many lakhs of people coming. So in the Vedic system, these ordinary materialistic people who may be called themselves Hindus or whatever, they know that they have to submit to Shani Dev, so they do what is called paying off the mafia, right? Don't give me any trouble, here's the money. And that's basically what it is. It's a complete materialistic exchange, so that I'm not going to have to suffer. Now, what is the second type of bhakti? That you can advance in bhakti. The second type is with what? Intense spiritual greed. Intense spiritual greed. So therefore, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur concludes that according to one's qualification, there are two types of practitioners of bhakti sadhana. A Vaidhi Bhakta and a Raganuga Bhakta. Now in text 5, he's commenting upon a verse of Srila Rupa Goswami from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Tatra lobho lakshita swayam Sri Rupa Goswami charanayar eva. So in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, here's the verse. Tat bhavadi madhurye shrute dir yad apekshate natra shastram na yuktim cha tad lobotpati lakshanam. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives a Sanskrit comment to this, and here's the translation of his Sanskrit comment. He says, this is different than Gurudev's comment. This is a translation directly. In Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami has described the symptoms of pure greed as follows. So this pure greed, it's called Shuddha Lobha. Shuddha Lobha. So here's the description by Rupa Goswami. What are the symptoms of pure greed? This is important. Because many people claim to have greed. But what really is greed? What are the symptoms? Here it is. If, by hearing about the sweetness of the intimate loving moods that are exchanged between Sri Krishna and his cherished companions, if, when you hear that, your experiences in a person's heart, or the natural longing to attain a loving sentiment similar to that of Krishna's dear ones, without being motivated by logic or scriptural arguments, it is to be considered symptomatic of the appearance of spiritual greed. It's basically a translation of the verse of Rupa Goswami. So again, let's review this so that we understand this clearly. If by hearing about the sweetness of the intimate loving moods exchanged between Sri Krishna and his cherished companions, that person who's hearing, if he experiences in his heart the natural longing to attain a loving sentiment similar to that of Krishna's dear ones, without being motivated by logic or scriptural arguments, without that, it is to be considered symptomatic of the appearance of spiritual greed. So it's not depending on logic. It's not depending on scriptural arguments, rulings, but there is just a natural longing to attain that sentiment that is similar to Krishna's dear ones. Yes. Now, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur goes on and gives his comment. He says, upon hearing about the sweetness of the sentiment of amorous love, and also all the other moods that exist in the associates in Krishna's Braja pastimes, so upon hearing about this sweetness of their sentiments and moods, then a person may yearn. He may yearn like this: oh, may such a mood arise in my heart. May this happen to me. May such a mood arise in my heart. So at that time, then he needs no longer to rely. If that comes, then he needs no longer to rely on logic or scriptural arguments. And if such scriptural impetus persists, then one's sentiments cannot be identified as greed. So if there's a scriptural impetus that still persists, then you cannot identify these sentiments as being actual spiritual greed. Here's a very important sentence. No one ever develops greed. No one ever develops greed on the basis of the scriptural injunctions. Nor is there any consideration of spiritual qualification or the lack thereof for obtaining it. There's no consideration of that at all. Of the qualification, spiritual qualification, or the lack of spiritual qualification for obtaining it. So, if there is, then it's not greed. No one ever develops greed on the basis of scriptural injunctions. But rather, greed arises spontaneously simply upon hearing about or seeing the object of one's longing. So who's that? Who's the object? Who's the object of one's longing that we will hear about, and then greed will come? Spontaneously. The greed will arise spontaneously simply by hearing about or seeing the object of one's longing. Who is that? Krishna. Hearing about Krishna. Hearing about Krishna and his associates. Hearing about Krishna and their loving moods and sentiments. If one has spiritual greed, then the object of that longing, it will be very clearly understood that Krishna is the object of my longing. No one else, nothing else. Krishna and Krishna's associates. So now Srila Gurudev, see, we're about at this point in the discussion of this book. But I wanted to give us the reference point for the exact shlokas that are being told by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And Gurudev is explaining these symptoms of greed. So now he gives his comment on these three verses, and he says, in the Jaiva Dharma, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur confirms that after one has heard about the supremely sweet moods of the Brajavasis, after one has heard about the supremely sweet moods of the Brajavasis, the consequent disposition of hankering to attain these moods, that signifies that spiritual greed has appeared. After one's heard about the supremely sweet moods of the Brajavasis, the consequent disposition of hankering to obtain these moods, it signifies that spiritual greed has appeared. Hankering. Kama lobha dayaschaye. Kama lobha. Lust and hankering. We know that in the material world. Cheta etairana vidham stitam sattve prasidati. In those 5 shlokas from the 2nd chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam is told clearly there. Kama lobha adayaschaye. Beginning with lust and greed and hankering. Lobha. But that's lust and greed and hankering for the things of this world. The process of bhakti removes that and replaces it with what? You have to have desire. You cannot be without desire, and you have to have some hankering towards something. We are not stone. We have to have something that we're aspiring for. So here, Srila Gurudev has pointed out that Bhaktivinoda Thakur is giving this symptom as being the symptom of someone in whom it signifies that spiritual greed has appeared. So if that's not happening, then we know we don't have spiritual greed. So after hearing about the supremely sweet moods of the Brajavasis, and after hearing about the consequent disposition, or rather, after hearing that, then the consequent disposition of hankering to attain these moods, that is a symptom. You hear about that, and now your disposition is full of hankering to attain these moods. That signifies spiritual greed has appeared. Now, upon hearing narrations about Krishna, a person with the propensity for regulative devotion, that means Vaidhi Bhakti, that person will scrutinize what he has heard with his intelligence. When he hears about that, the narrations about Krishna, then a person who has the propensity of the regulative based upon Shastra and logic. So what does he do when he hears? He'll scrutinize what he has heard with his intelligence. And also, he'll consider what is said in the scriptures. And he'll utilize his reasoning. So only when these three are consistent with what he has heard does he go forward. What three? What three? He will scrutinize what he has heard with his intelligence. He will scrutinize what is said in the scriptures. And also, he will apply his reasoning. And only when these three are consistent with what he has heard does he go forward, you see. So he may hear the very same topics, but because he's in a tendency towards the shastric type of devotion based upon Shastra, so he has to use his intelligence and scrutiny and all of that. Now, but in the pathway of Rag Marg, it does not work like this, Gurudev says. In Rag Marg, it doesn't work like this. On this path, there is no place at all. There is no place for intelligence, for scripture, or for reasoning. That's a tough one for us to swallow, isn't it? Like, what the heck? How am I going to? Because we're so accustomed to use our intelligence, to use our reasoning. Hey, Amazon. Yes, coming now. Okay, coming now. Okay. Yes, coming. I forgot to turn off my ringer on my phone. So, on this path, there's no place for intelligence. On this Rag Marg path, there's no place for intelligence, for scripture, or for reasoning. The only consideration is greed for the devotional moods of the Vrajavasis. That's all. That's the only consideration. There's no other consideration. And here, Gurudev is expressing the mood that the devotee will feel. Oh, what sweet feelings do the Brajbasis have for Krishna? Can I ever have such sentiments? Oh, if so, how can they be attained? That's the mood. You got that mood, Maharaj? I think that you're a hidden Rag Marg Bhakti practitioner, but you're not letting us know. But he is he's giving many subtle symptoms, that if you know how to read it, you can see, he's in that state of mind, that state of consciousness. What state of consciousness? Oh, when he hears the sweet feelings that the Brajbasis have for Krishna, he thinks, oh, how sweet are these feelings that the Brajbasis have for Krishna? Can I ever have also such sentiments? Or maybe, if so, how can they be attained? That's what he thinks. That's the symptom of greed. I think that we have that in to a limited extent, more or less. Why? Because we like to hear about Krishna and his pastimes. We like to hear about Krishna's exchanges with his most intimate associates of Goloka Vrindavan. We like this topic, do we not? We do. We like this topic. One of the reasons why we like this topic is because in the very beginning of our spiritual life, Prabhupada gave us the entire 10th canto. And I really do. I remember reading those stories, both with a group of devotees, someone's reading, while we're having prasadam, or while we're in the Sankirtan van, or whatever they're reading. All the Krishna book stories, all of the histories of Krishna's pastimes. And then sometimes on my own I'm reading, and I can remember vividly, wow, that's amazing. These gopis, these cowherd boys, wow, I want to go there. I want to also live there. back to home, back to Godhead. I want this. Huh? Yes. Yes, Maharaj. Please give us your commentary on this.
Today is the day that Srila Prabhupada started the commentary on the translation of the
Oh yeah? Is that on the Vaishnava calendar? In Bhubaneswar?
It's not on our calendar, but
Yeah.
it was sent to him.
Okay. But in Bhubaneswar, that's where he started it.
Right.
Yes.
Some devotees overheard it
Yeah.
and recorded it.
I remember hearing that. I don't know if today is that very day, but since you say it is, I'm not going to disbelieve you until it's proven otherwise, that it's not that day. Yes. So, this is our good fortune. This is our good fortune that these books have become available to us. Do you remember reading the Nectar of Devotion when we were really new? I remember. And I remember that like 1/4 of the book, the first parts, we could kind of relate with that. But the rest of it is all different examples of all the different moods of Krishna with all the different associates and what type of rasa it is and what combination of rasas, you remember? And I remember that devotees, they started to ask Srila Prabhupada. They started to ask Srila Prabhupada about. They started to ask Srila Prabhupada about whether or not we should read those latter parts of the Nectar of Devotion book, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And Prabhupada said, yes, you can read them, but you should focus on the first part. I remember. But it was very attractive, and as the years went by, it's become more and more attractive. So,
I scrolled down past the date.
Yeah.
Today, 1977.
Yeah, but it doesn't say on this very day. What's the date?
I scrolled past it.
Yeah. Okay. So what's the date? That's all we need to know. What is the date? January 30th, 1977, Bhubaneswar, India. It is indeed that very day today by the sun calendar. By the sun calendar, it is that very day today. Yes. Yes, and so, but what else? Not only the Krishna book, not only the Nectar of Devotion, also teachings of Lord Chaitanya. It was filled with so much Braj Katha about Krishna, describing Krishna. So the reason why all of us oldies are here, and all of us, is because we heard these things. And we said, yeah, I want that. I want connection with Krishna, the most beautiful personality. And every single day, we're singing Govindam Adi Purusham Venum Konvantam Aravinda Dalaya Taksham. Just yesterday, I was listening to Bahalasva's memories, 45 minutes just before he left his body of cancer, 4 years ago now, 2019. And he was telling how he got to serve Srila Prabhupada for a 2-week period once. And he said he walked in on Srila Prabhupada once, he was just sitting alone, and he had a peacock feather, and he was rubbing it against his face and saying, Govinda, Govinda, Govinda. And he thought, I shouldn't be here. Prabhupada is in this ecstatic mood. I shouldn't be interrupting his mood. So we've been exposed to Mahabhagwat Rasik Vaishnavas who have spoken about these topics. Without hearing 10th canto, there is no way that someone is going to develop lobha and greed. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said, Srimad Bhagavatam pramanam amalam. Our whole movement is based on Srimad Bhagavatam. That's why Srila Prabhupada brought Srimad Bhagavatam to the West. And that's why, before he could finish the Srimad Bhagavatam, or even get part of the way through the initial cantos, he gave the 10th canto. Because you cannot have a Krishna consciousness without Krishna's pastimes, without the description of Krishna's form from the Srimad Bhagavatam. And all the books of the Goswamis are what? Expansions of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in this book, he's going to tell, and that's what he's telling. He's telling about greed. If you want to come on this pathway that leads you to Goloka Vrindavan, you cannot go there through Vaidhi Bhakti. You can go to a higher planet through Vaidhi Bhakti, but not to the ultimate planet and not to the most intimate pastimes of the Supreme Absolute Truth in the form of Nanda Nandan Yashoda Nandan Krishna Shyama Sundar. No, you can't go to that place through Vaidhi Bhakti. It is only possible to reach that place through Ragmarg Bhakti. Did we know that before? No, we didn't know it before. And there's a lot of people nowadays in certain institutions that still don't know it. And they have a kind of Christian conception. Believe in Jesus and you're saved and then you'll go to heaven. They have like almost a conception like that. You stay in the institution of ISKCON. It's Srila Prabhupada's body. It's none different than him. And you chant 16 rounds a day and you follow 4 regulated principles. And you're going back to Godhead. You're going back to Godhead. Did we not hear that? We heard it. We heard it a lot. But there's finer understanding of that statement. When are you going? Is that the only qualification? No, the qualification is what? That you develop lobha, greed, and then rati and bhav, and you become immersed in this way 24 hours a day, and then you're on the pathway. You're on the pathway of Ragmarg Bhakti. But prior to that, can you be said to be on the pathway of Ragmarg Bhakti? Prior to that, if you're in the stage of anartha nivritti, which most devotees are, they're struggling with their anarthas, and they're struggling with their senses, and they're trying to chant the holy names and to follow the regulated principles and all that, but they're struggling. So they're in the stage of bhajan kriya anartha nivritti, and that goes on for a long time. But do we just skip over? Do we just suddenly skip over the stages of nishta, ruchi, asakti, bhav? Do we just ascend and skip over them and suddenly attain Krishna prema? No. Is this a controversial question to ask? Why? Why is it controversial? Because some persons have established an entire siddhanta, that that's all you got to do, and if you don't do that, you're probably going to go to hell. If you leave this institution and then you go there, then you're probably going to go to hell. We've heard that. Oh yes. Offenders of Srila Prabhupada, they left him. They left him. Yes. So, this is important information, and that's why our Gurudev was speaking about this topic to the ISKCON leaders. And the whole book is made right here of some of the conversations that he had with them. Only on this book. He had many, many other conversations with them on other books as well. And that went on over a period of about 5-6 years. So the understanding of what is rag is essential. And what is ragatmik, what is raganuga, that's essential to understand. What are the symptoms of each practitioner? What is the nature of their faith, of their hankering of each practitioner? That there's two different types of sadhana bhakti. That was not understood before. They think that this thing called raganuga is not in the category of sadhana. But they're wrong. It's in the category of sadhana. And sadhana bhakti starts with what? What's the first appearance of sadhana bhakti as Rupa Goswami has given? We studied those verses. Ado shraddha, tatak sadhu sangha, ata bhajana kriya, anartha nivritti, nishta. But then, after nishta, then what? Is it still sadhana bhakti? Yes. Ruchi is sadhana bhakti. It's not siddha bhakti. Asakti is just the threshold, but it's still in the category of sadhana bhakti. But in the stage of the descent of Shuddha Sattva into the heart of the devotee, which is called the stage of Bhav or Rati, then that's not any longer called sadhana bhakti, it's called siddha. It's attainment of Swarup Siddhi at that stage. But still, there is a continuation of the practices that will nurture and nourish those moods in the stage of Bhav. But that person is not a sadhak anymore. That person is siddha. Who was given by Rupa Goswami as an example of a sadhak? Bilva Mangal Thakur was given as an example of a sadhak, one who is a practitioner. Why? Why was he given as an example of a sadhak? What were the symptoms that he exhibited that places him in the category of a sadhak? There's a verse Rupa Goswami wrote. It's in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Bindu. I can't remember the first line of it. But there are symptoms there. One of the symptoms is that he has surpassed the other stages, the lower stages. He has surpassed that, the lower stages in the pathway of bhakti, and trying to struggle with the senses and the mind and so forth. But he has not surpassed all the obstacles. That's one of the symptoms. Still some obstacle is there. And then it says, Rupa Goswami says, he actually has attained the qualification for what? To have darshan of Krishna. He's attained the qualification actually. To have darshan of Krishna, but it hasn't yet happened. That person is called a sadhak. And Bilva Mangal Thakur is an example of that. We usually don't think that when you hear the story from certain persons who don't know the whole picture. Oh, he went to a prostitute, he was just lusty, this, that. But Gurudev has explained that no. How could Bilva Mangal Thakur write this highest poetry unless he was a very great Sanskrit poet? And unless he was a Rasik personality? How could he write Krishna Karnamrita with incredible poetry? So Gurudev explains that this so-called prostitute, she was a society girl, but she was also a devotee of Krishna. And she had made considerable advancement, but yet this lust was there. So that's why it says he hasn't yet surpassed all the obstacles. Some obstacle is still there, standing in the way. And then what happened? Krishna arranged it. That he went through an intense agony, agonizing just how he has lost the opportunity how he has not taken advantage and worshipped Krishna, how he has become attached to stool and urine in the form of this material body. And then determination arose in his heart. Intense determination. And he set out, he left that place, the whole story of the storm in the middle of the night, and how Chintamani said, if only you came to me with such intense, if only you had that mood towards Krishna, you would be such a great devotee. So when he left, and then what happened? As he was traveling along the way, on his way to Vrindavan, then he saw a very attractive young Brahmani lady, and he followed her back to her house. And when he came there, because he's also from that background, he's a Brahmana also, and sadhu. And so the Brahmin husband of the lady said to him when he came to the door, "Oh, how can we serve you?" "Oh, I would like to have 2 hairpins from your wife that she uses to tie her hair up." So they're, yes, of course you can have. And they were thinking to themselves, he must have some kind of, maybe a thorn that went into his foot and he needs like that. So Gurudev says, when he describes that story, he says, yes, there was a thorn, but this thorn was very difficult to remove, and it was in his heart. So what did he do? No one can do this unless they have that intense desire, okay? He poked out his eyes. If these eyes will not enable me to, then there's no need for these eyes. No one can do that. So Bilva Mangal Thakur, from that point on, he went to Vrindavan as a blind person, and a young boy came along and had a stick in his hand, a cowherd stick. Oh, Baba, please, here, where are you going? I'm going to Vrindavan. Oh, I'll also go. I'm leading you there. And then he grabbed a hold of that stick. And then, as they were traveling along the way, he began to sing beautiful songs and poetry for Krishna. And Krishna was hearing, because that little boy was Krishna. So, this is essential. We are not going to fly up to the spiritual world from the stage of anartha nivritti suddenly and just wake up there in heaven with prema amongst all the angels. No, that's not going to take place. This is the process for cultivating that. And the only methodology of going to Goloka Vrindavan, to the center of the whorl of Goloka Vrindavan, is through the pathway of Rag Marg Bhakti. Rag Anuga Bhakti. So this is essential for those who are serious. They want to attain this perfection in their life. They will have to know this subject matter. And that's why Srila Gurudev told that there's a very critical period in a devotee's life, that he has been practicing, he has given up so many things, but yet there is still some attachment, some attraction is still there because of anarthas. All the anarthas are not gone. But yet now he's attracted to some degree to hearing these higher topics, these higher subject matters. If he does not hear them in that stage, that critical stage, there is possibility he can be pulled backwards by those anarthas and fall down. This is what Gurudev told. Yes?
Even though in the first few verses of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it specifically states Mahaprabhu's purpose for his advent. He's come to experience love of Srimati Radharani and then to distribute this path of spontaneous growth. Right there, that's the main purpose of Mahaprabhu's advent. And still that society is not investigating what is that.
No, that verse that you're referring to is actually referring to both Krishna, his appearance, as well as Mahaprabhu's appearance. Because Premras Niryas Korite Asvadam. Premras Niryas means what? The essence of Premras. Premras Niryas. He wants to taste. Korite asvadan. Asvadan means to taste. So what does he want to taste? The essence of Prem Ras. And that was the cause of Krishna descending in this world. Why? Because Krishna is Rasika Shekhar Krishna and Parama Karunya in the second verse. Rasika Shekhar Krishna. So the fact that Krishna is the supreme taster of all rasas is the cause for his descent, so that he can manifest all of these beautiful pastimes in which he tastes such rasa that even he becomes astonished. That's also there in those verses, in the explanation of that reference, what you're bringing up. But this verse also refers to Krishna in the form of Gauranga. It refers to, because he's also Krishna. So in both of these appearances, he wants to taste the essence of Prem Ras. As Krishna, he wants to taste as the supreme enjoyer. And in the form of Mahaprabhu, he wants to taste in the position of the supreme enjoyed, Srimati Radhika. So therefore, Rag Marg Bhakti Loke Korite Pracharan. So Rag Marg Bhakti Loke means the pathway of Rag Marg Bhakti in this world. Loke means in this world. He wanted to broadcast the pathway of Rag Marg Bhakti. So how did Krishna, in his appearance, Shama Sundar Krishna, how did he broadcast Rag Marg Bhakti?
Displayed his pastime.
Yes. He displayed his supreme pastimes to do what? To give opportunity to attract all the conditioned souls, so that they will be attracted. They will hear about those pastimes, they'll be attracted, and they'll come onto the pathway of pure bhakti. So Rag Marg Bhakti Loke Korite Pracharan, Pracharan we know means to preach. So how does this then apply to the form of Krishna who has appeared as with a combined form of Srimati Radhika? How is he doing Rag Marg Bhakti Pracharan? How is Mahaprabhu doing that? We just heard how Krishna does it by exhibiting his pastimes. And so how does Mahaprabhu do it? Harinam Kirtan. Yeah. How else? Yes. Rupa Goswami. Mahaprabhu's whole pastime, especially, of course, his early pastimes were just like Krishna's childhood pastimes. Sweet, full of sweetness. And very attractive. And he attracted everyone's heart. And he was also mischievous. But then later on, after he went to Gaya and returned back, now the purpose of his descent, which was for him, Krishna, to taste the highest Unnata Ujjvala Prem Ras of Srimati Radhika, the rarest rasa, that he could not taste in his form as Shyamasundar Krishna. Now he has appeared in a golden form, combined with her moods, combined with her golden color. That's why he's Gauranga. So in this way, he has appeared in this world, and now he is manifesting the pastimes of Harinam Sankirtan, through which he is tasting, and through which all others can attain and taste this nectar of Prem Ras. So Rag Marg Bhakti was preached by Mahaprabhu, but specifically for the masses of people after his appearance and his disappearance from this world. Prior to that, he empowered the 6 Goswamis, and especially Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, and Raghunath Das Goswami, who manifested the entire literature through which one can follow the pathway that Mahaprabhu himself has descended to give in this world. And the 6 Goswamis were the example of this, the highest example. And Roy Ramananda Samvad, Mahaprabhu, also, with who? With Ramananda Roy. Mahaprabhu had these conversations and he heard from Ramananda Roy. But that was for him. That was his search. How can I attain this? How? What is the sadhya and what is the sadhana? Please explain it to me. And after he met Ramananda Roy, and then he said, now the purpose of my coming to you has been satisfied, but I cannot live without you now. Now you're going to have to come to Jagannath Puri because I need you to be there non-stop continually with me. So Ramananda Roy, Swarup Damodar Goswami, assisted Mahaprabhu in drinking and tasting this. Okay? So, in this way, the whole topic is Ragmarg Bhakti. So then in the second verse it says, Rasika Shekhar Krishna Parama Karunya, E Dui Hetu Hoite Ichar Udgama. E Dui Hetu. For two different causes, Hetu means cause. For two different causes, two different purposes and reasons why he descended is what? Premras Niryas, that's the first one, to taste that. And Ragmarg Bhakti Loke Korite Pracharan, to do that. But these two are based upon who he is. And who is he? He has these two supreme qualities of his nature, that he's Rasika Shekhar. He is always tasting the essence of ras. That's all that he does. He has no other occupation except tasting ras. All of his incarnations, everything that he does is for tasting ras. And even our being here in the material world, as conditioned souls, is for Krishna to taste ras. Which rasa does Krishna want to taste? Karunya ras, compassion, to come and save all the conditioned souls. That's a ras. So there has to be conditioned souls to taste. So in essence, we are serving Krishna's pastimes in that way. But Krishna wants to bring us there, to the spiritual world. He doesn't want us to rot in the material world. So therefore Krishna appears in this world and exhibits his pastimes. So this is his karunyata. This is his supreme compassion. So Rasika Shekhar Krishna Parama Karunya, that he's supremely merciful. So if Krishna was not supremely merciful and also supremely desirous of tasting ras, that would be our great misfortune. All right, so anyway, we went off a little bit on a tangent, but it's on the tangent of, this topic, Ragmarg Bhakti. So we'll finish here, and we'll continue on Thursday. And just looking ahead in the calendar for our knowledge, today is the 30th of January, and tomorrow is the last day, the 31st of January, and the appearance day of Srila Bhakti Vaibhav Puri Maharaj is tomorrow. If you want to attend any program in his glorification at his mutt, that will be going on in Mayapur. And Sri Narahari Seva Vigraha, very intimate godbrother of Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj, the mother of the Gaudiya Mutt, he was called. It's his disappearance day. Tomorrow, on Wednesday. Oh wait. Yeah, tomorrow on Wednesday. Then we slide into the month of February, in which there's only 29 days, so this is a leap year. This year, 29 days, and there are 4 weeks exactly. 4 7-day weeks. No, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4 weeks. But this is a very eventful month because starting on the 1st, which is Thursday, that'll be our next class, is the disappearance day of Jayadev Goswami. Then on the Sunday, which will be the class after that, it's the disappearance day of Srila Lochan Das Thakur. Then on the Tuesday, it's Ekadashi, Sattila Ekadashi. And then the next day after that is Srila Bhaktivedanta Trivikram Goswami Maharaj's appearance day. And 2 days after his appearance day is whose appearance day? Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj. It's his 103rd appearance day, Mauni Amavasya. And that is falling on a Friday. So I am sure that we will be going across to that Bhaktivedanta Kunj on that day, no doubt. But we still have to get that confirmed. And of course, Rishabh Dev Prabhu, he'll be back prior to that. He said he wants to come back at least by the 6th or 7th, so that he's back a couple days before that. Now, on the 11th is a Sunday, so we'll have class. And then on the next Tuesday is the beginning of Kumbha Sankranti, which is the solar month of Falgun. It starts. So that's on Tuesday. Then on Wednesday is the big day. Huh? Vasanta Panchami. Do you know how many different things are being celebrated on that day? Here's the list. First of all, it's the first day of spring, Vasanta Panchami. So, Sri Saraswati Puja for Divya Saraswati. Then there is the appearance day of Sri Pundarik Vidyanidhi. I just read that pastime yesterday from the Chaitanya Bhagavad. So amazing pastime, where Gadadhar Pandit goes and then he meets with Mahaprabhu after that for the first time. Then the appearance day of Sri Raghunandan Thakur, the appearance day of Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, the appearance day of Sri Vishnu Priya Devi, the disappearance day of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the disappearance day of Srila Bhakti Swarup Parvat Goswami, a disciple of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, and Srila Bhakti Vivek Bharati Goswami Maharaj. Those two personalities, it is their appearance day. So, but you know what happens 2 days after that? Advaita Saptami, appearance day of Sri Advaita Acharya. And then on the Sunday after that is the disappearance day of Madhvacharya, and then the day after that is the disappearance day of Ramanujacharya. And then the next day, which is a Tuesday, is Srila Keshava Bharati, his appearance day, and it's also Ekadasi. Okay, it's also Ekadasi. And then after that comes Varaha Dvadashi on the Wednesday the 21st. Then on Thursday the 22nd is Nityananda Trayodasi. That's a big day. And also Srila Neem Ananda Seva Tirtha Prabhu. I don't know who that is, but it's one of the disciples of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. So for Nityananda Trayodasi, I am pretty sure that we are going to be going there. I've been invited by Sukanta, who operates that whole place, Bhaktivedanta Kunj, to come and do like a 3-day seminar. And they also want to, on one of those days, they want to make a journey to Ekachakra on one of those days, probably on that very day, the Nityananda Trayodasi day. But he wanted to have like a 3-day kata, Nityananda kata, like morning, evening, like that. So, and then on the 24th, a Saturday, is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sannyas Day, and also Sri Krishna's Madhur Otsava, Narottam Das Thakur's appearance day, Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Madhusudan Maharaj from the Devananda Gaudiya Math, his appearance day. He's a disciple of Bhakti Pragyan Kesha Maharaj, uncle of Sri Padmanabha Maharaj. And it is Purnima on that day. So that brings us up to the 24th of February. And then there's one more really big day the next week after that. Actually, there's two. is the 126th appearance day of Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj on the Tuesday. And then on the Thursday is the 150th anniversary of the appearance of who? Prabhupada Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur. Yes, on that Thursday.
What day of the month is that?
It's Thursday the 29th of February. And then there's an appearance on that day also of Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj. His disappearance day is on that day. We went there last year, remember? On that day, or the day after. Oh yeah, it was the day after Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. But on that day we were celebrating Gaur Govinda Maharaj's disappearance. And so there was like a few sannyasis that spoke. And also on that day, Bhakti Bhudev Shroti Goswami Maharaj, Tirobhav. Yes, so that's what's coming up just around the corner, and then we get into the month of March, and on the 25th of March is Gaur Purnima, and the Navadvip Parikrama Sankalpa is on the 19th of March. So during that time, we will see who's here. Some persons may be going for a short journey, but I think that's in February, right? Probably. And then another person who may be going for a journey in March. She may have to go for a couple of weeks. All right, Gaur Premanande, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Ki Jai. All glories to our Sri Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Jaya Sachi Nandan, Jaya Gaura Hari, Sachi Nandan, Jaya Gaura Hari. Jaya Nityananda Ram, Nityananda Ram, Nityananda Ram, Jaya Nityananda Ram. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Vrindai Tulsidevi Priyai Keshavasya Cha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Sachavachai Namo Nama Pancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Bheva Cha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Nama.
Yeah.